In this Discover module of our training course, we've been looking at the different types of acquisition reporting that Google Analytics provides us. There's two types. We've got traffic acquisition and user acquisition. Traffic acquisition is all around understanding the channels that drive the traffic, so the sessions, and the performance of those sessions. And the user acquisition is understanding what channels drive the user and the performance of those users. In this video, we're going to combine those two features together. We're going to look at combining user and traffic acquisition dimensions, and then we're going to understand how we can utilize these in the rest of the GA4 reporting interface. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight into the user acquisition reports. And this report is looking at the channel that drives the user, and this could be as far back as yesterday or last year. We don't actually know. We've categorized them into the different channels, and we're looking at the performance of users in this period of time that we've selected in the top right corner. So now here the primary dimension is first user default channel group. And so what I'm going to do now is add a secondary dimension. And when I add this secondary dimension and I have a look at the traffic sources, you can see that all of the first user prefix dimensions and session prefix dimensions are available to us. The first user prefix dimensions are the user acquisition ones, and the session prefix ones are the traffic acquisition ones. So here I'm going to add the session default channel group in side by side with the first user channel group and see every combination of our marketing channels. So now taking a look at this data, on the left-hand side, we're looking at the first channel that user used, and on the next column, we're looking at the most recent channel that the user used, and then the subsequent metrics in terms of the performance of those sessions. What I can do is I can use things like table filters to just filter out and look and highlight individual channels. For example, if I filter for organic search, it shows me every combination of the term organic search within these two dimensions. So here we can see, for example, on these two lines here, we can see how organic search is used in combination with a direct channel. The first one is showing me where users were acquired via direct and then have subsequently come back to the website within this period of time via organic search. And going over to the right-hand side, we can look at how many engaged sessions there were, the average engagement time, but also things like the events, conversions, and revenue. And remember, we can use that drop-down under the events to look at any event we're collecting in GA4 to measure this combination of marketing channels. If we look at the next line down, it's the exact same thing, but in reverse. We're looking at users that are acquired via organic search, but then have been driven back to the website within this date range via the direct channel. And what's really interesting here, yes, we can look at the metrics on the right-hand side, but it's actually the comparison between the two I find interesting. So looking at how users are less likely to engage in terms of time when they're this combination. And now there's a lot less traffic and a lot less users in this combination, so there might not be an opportunity to engage for any length of time. But it's interesting to understand how we can start to identify trends or patterns for users that are acquired via one channel or another over time. A different way of looking at this same kind of data is now jumping into the traffic acquisition report. And yes, I can include the first user default channel group as a secondary dimension and do exactly the same example, but in a different report the other way around. But instead, I'm going to include a filter here. So I'm going to go add a report filter. I'm going to go and select the first user medium this time and select organic. And now by doing this, what I've done is I've filtered this entire report for all users that were originally acquired via organic search. So rather than having it as a secondary dimension now, I can just include a filter and have the whole report filtered. Now, if I have a look at that primary dimension and switch that out for something like the source medium, or more specifically the session source medium, this is showing me all the combinations of the different marketing channels that are driving traffic in within this period of time, but purely for users that were acquired originally via organic search. Here we can see a couple of email marketing campaigns through here. So let's filter the table for email. So using the table filter, filtering for the term email, we're now looking at traffic driven via email, purely of users that were acquired via organic search. And here we can see the revenue, which is quite interesting. This is an e-commerce website, so this is looking at revenue, is quite interesting. But remember, you can use that drop down for the events and look at any metric, any event that you're tracking. This isn't showing me total revenue for email marketing, for example. This is just looking at users that were acquired via organic search and have converted then via email marketing within this period of time. Now, this is just an example, and you can use this with any type of marketing filter, dimension, or table filter you'd like. The last way I want to show you about how we can use this kind of data is actually by moving away from the traffic acquisition and the user acquisition reports. We don't have to stay in these two reports to get access to this data. So for a change of scenery, let's go into the tech overview report. Now, because this is an overview report, we can't use table filters or data filters, but we can use comparisons. And so this is a really interesting way of comparing different types of users over time. So let's add a comparison here and do the same kind of logic we did in the previous example and look at the first user medium of organic. Now this will show us both comparisons side by side. We've got total users and users we acquired purely via organic search. And as we go down, we can start to see the small differences between these two types of users. We can see that the users that are acquired via organic search actually have different types of devices and different types of operating systems and even things like screen resolutions compared to the average across all users. We can see that the users that we acquire via organic search are actually more likely to be on desktops than the total average for the users. Utilizing these two types of acquisition dimensions, the user acquisition and the traffic acquisition data, is going to be really helpful for us to fully understand or start to get a grasp of how our marketing is performing. These are what's called attribution models, and these are two of the default attribution models that Google provides us in the reporting interface. Google Analytics is great at providing lots of different attribution models and different ways of us understanding our marketing performance. I've done a whole deep dive video on understanding the default attribution models, what they mean, and how we can use them to our advantage. So check out that link in the description if you want to learn a bit more. There's not just one way of reporting on our marketing performance, especially in Google Analytics 4. It provides us these two default methods, the traffic acquisition and user acquisition, but there are actually plenty more, and we're going to be touching on those in the next couple of modules. Until then, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.